Okay, my name is James Williams Jr. This is Kung Fu Havoc number 2. So I'm gonna drop this dime on you guys. It's a theory. It's a theory video, and I want you guys to all think about it. All right, because uh, we as people out here in the world, there are a lot of things that we know or don't know or should know and shouldn't know, or there are things that is beyond human understanding, or the concept of what is real, what is myth, what is legend, what is imaginary, what is out there. So this is basically a theory on multiplicity, if you would. I will try to keep this PG-13, by the way, because kids may want to watch this video and they may want to know. So let's go into theories on supernatural, not the show. I love the show, but this is more, it might be down their alley if they're watching, but, supernatural beings, mythological creatures, um, folklore, things like that. So a lot of people seem to not follow with what I believe because I'm a strong believer in that every myth and legend has some truth to it because almost every culture knows about dragons. Now, to my knowledge, for Native Americans, there is no knowledge of dragons, but they do have a thunderbird, which in no way remotely resembles a dragon. All right? Now, every nation of people, except like if you live on an island or whatever, has a representation of Bigfoot or the Yeti. In some Japanese cultures, they revere demons as heroes. So every culture has a twist to their myths and their legends, and every myth and legend has some possible form of truth. Everybody couldn't be on the same purple haze all around the world at the same time, all those millions of years ago, seeing the same entities without some acknowledgement of truth. By the way, this has to be my last video because it's like 1 p.m. and I'm sure all the children that don't live here will be like flocking in like roaches. But anyway, the whole point of the conversation is that, you know, this is a theory. And I am a strong believer, but I'm also a realist. You know, as a person who's part of Native American, I'll be the first to tell you that I'm not putting nothing past Bigfoot because the 13th colonies mystery was never ever fucking solved. Yeah, the original 13 colonies of Virginia, the 13th colony magically disappeared and no one ever solved it. So there's a possibility of alien abduction. There's a possibility of Bigfoot killing them all as a spirit of vengeance for them taking the land from Native Americans, etc., etc. You can twist that thing any way you want. But the damn concept of they were never discovered what happened to them. So you have to look at it that way. I'm sorry for the lighting. The sun's outside, so there's no need for the big light to be on. The um the concept of Bigfoot. A lot of people fail to understand it. For Native Americans in most tribes, depending on who you ask, Bigfoot is more or less a guardian, a protector, or a spirit of vengeance. The same can be said for the crow. The same can be said for the thunderbird, Coyote the trickster. The deer woman is for damn sure a spirit of vengeance because her job is to beat the shit out of men who rape women. And the polar bear god, I'm still touch and go on that. I know that it exists in the Eskimo kingdom of legendary myths. And I did my research before I wrote my graphic novel, trust me. Or actually, I did my research while I was writing my graphic novel on Love 13. But anyway, the whole point is, I don't have a publisher, but the whole point is that, each myth and legend has to have some truth to it. Someone has cataloged something about it somewhere, at some place, at some point, at some time. Like, for instance, with Greek mythology and the Iliad or the Idiot or the Odyssey or whatever you want to call it, Ulysses or Odysseus. You see what I'm saying with that? Some of us call him Ulysses, some of us call him Odysseus. Now, which one is actually true is beyond me because I'm not fucking Greek. Okay, so you kind of have to go with what you know. And like I said, each myth and legend has some truth to it, and they all change tribally. I just found out a legend of a crow when the crow used to be white. I don't know what tribe that came from, but whatever it was, they ran with the buffaloes. So the buffaloes was always being warned by the crow. It's in one of those folklore.com things. You can find it somewhere. Anyway, that being said, the whole point is that we tend to veer more to the possible than the impossible. And then Sir Arthur Conan Doyle came around. Excuse me, Arthur Conan Doyle came around, and with Sherlock Holmes. Sorry, a little tongue tied today. He said the one thing that was like totally fucking true. And the same thing with the line from The Usual Suspects. And I revert to these things a lot so y'all know that where my logic kind of comes from. Because Sir Arthur Conan Doyle said that when you eliminate the possible and the only thing that's left is the impossible, then the impossible is truth. I think that he hit the hammer right on the nail with that, because sometimes there are things that we just weren't meant to explain or see or acknowledge, and those things do happen. And now with The Usual Suspects, I always go back to this line because it's the best line in any movie I've ever seen. Nothing's ever topped it. There have been some great one-liners, but this one has a grain of truth to it. Because in the line in The Usual Suspects, I can't remember which actor says it, so that should tell you how much I paid attention to it, but I remember the line. All the devil ever had to do was prove to mankind that he did not exist, and he could rule the world. Look at where we are now. Look at the chaos, not just in the White House, but in general. We as people refuse to do things that can level the playing field or upturn or upgrade or whatever the hell it is that they need to do for a successful expedition. And the thing with that is that no one wants to try to dig into it because it takes a lot of research. It doesn't really take money to do research outside of feeding the person doing the research and giving them shelter and resource material. Now, if they have to travel to do research, like say you want to do something about the Mothman in Upper Virginia, that's like maybe 4 or 5 hours from me. You set me up in a hotel, you send me there for like 3 or 4 days, and I go ask people questions. I do it like journalists, and then I go to the library and figure out what they have. I go on the microfiche thing. Do y'all remember what that is? Probably not, but anyway, you do that. Or I can just sit at home and fucking Google it and Wikipedia the shit out of the damn thing, and we'll find out. Now, say you want to do something about local legends like the Bigfoot or the Wildcats and all kinds of other, not the comics, but like the Bobcats that's going around killing people, or the Dog Man that's going around killing things and stuff. You really got to get in there. You have to go to that city and that state and that location to find people who are actually not crazy and don't want their 15 minutes of fame, but want to explain their story. Now, a couple of videos back, maybe weeks back, I did videos about the Witch Rider, which people claim is blood paralysis, and which I have logically explained that you can have muscle paralysis. You can never have blood paralysis because if your blood stops flowing, your ass is gonna fucking die. It's just that simple. Your blood flows at yay so many miles a minute per second. Your blood is always pumping in and out of your heart, in and out of your heart. It's going through every vein in your body and back to where it comes from. And when you suck air in, it pumps the art. And when you're running or when you're doing anything, they mix the arteries and things go faster and faster, and they work all at one cohesive unit. So when you are sleeping and your heart must keep functioning and your brain must keep functioning, even though your brain is at rest, it keeps everything else functioning. So if your heart stops for even a minute or a split second, you can die. People who have come back from death and explain how heaven or hell works, they'll let you know I have never died, so I can't really say that. I've been put to sleep for 18 hours to get my hip replaced, but I'm pretty sure my heart kept beating while they were cutting my ass open. So, in essential, if your blood stops pumping, you're dead. Why do you think they always put the defibrillator on your heart and not your brain? Because your heart pumps the blood, and the blood flows of oxygen goes from your heart to your brain and back. We breathe in oxygen, we breathe out carbon dioxide. You learn this shit in like the 3rd grade. So I will say that every myth and legend has some truth to it. It's just some things are meant to be explained and some things are not. Now, in the event, alright, let's say I walk out my house and I'm never seen again because I got abducted by aliens. And I come back 20 years later, everybody that I know that's still alive, like, well, damn, you haven't aged a day, you've been gone for 20 years. I can't get that time back. And I'm also probably going to be the subject of a bunch of government testing because they'll be like, well, where the fuck have you been? I was like, well, I don't know. It's like, well, you've been gone for 20 years. Like, that's impossible. I was like, yeah, when you left it was 2018, and now it's 2028, 2048. And, they are so many conspiracy videos of time travel here on YouTube as well. So, it's kind of hard to decipher. And I will say this. If time travel does exist and there are like committees to make sure that you don't change history and all this other stuff like they do in sci-fi movies, how would you honestly be able to control that? I don't think it's possible that you can actually control it, but I guess you can if no one knows that you exist. So if there's like a time bureau, or if there's a time cop that keeps you from going through time to rearrange the history so that if you become rich, it's because you actually earned it instead of going back and changing time and doing one of those Xanatos things from Gargoyles. And I'm not going to say it's impossible, because everything is possible. Now, the probability of it is a whole different ballgame. Because there's a difference. You can put impossibility in your hand, and you can hold probability. Now, let me explain that. Right? Impossible. This is not going to fall when I move my hand. Ready? Probable. Cell phones have been out for what? Maybe 15 years? Maybe. But cordless phones and handheld phones have been out for at least 20 years. If you go back as far as Miami Vice, they had car phones. If you go further back to the movie Scarface, Al Pacino had a handheld phone in like 75 or whatever the hell it was. Whenever the hell the movie came out. And it's the same thing with like lightsabers or Star Trek with the communicators and stuff. They're just foreshadowing things that were coming. And the thing is that there's pictures on YouTube of ladies from back in Charlie Chaplin days that had like a hellacious like phone or radio thing, and they're trying to say that that was a cell phone and she was a time traveler and things like that. And we can't prove that she's not. But if she's out there, I would love to meet her so she could tell me just how bad Charlie Chaplin was with women and other things. And there's lots of myths and stuff about stuff like that, and you kind of gotta take it with a grain of salt, because we can't say that it didn't happen, but we can't prove that it did. And it's the same theory with Bigfoot. We can't prove he does not exist. We can't seem to prove that he does. So as long as we don't have tangible proof, like a body or blood samples, then we will never know. Now, there was an episode of the new Johnny Quest with J.D. Roth as Johnny Quest, where they had the temple in the Himalayas, and the head of the Himalayan priest was actually a Yeti. And so, that being said, who's to say that's not how it works for the abominable snowman? Who's to say that that's not how it works with Native American tribes in general? And being that Native Americans technically and legally and biologically are of Asian descent, same thing with you Pacific Islanders, y'all are actually Asian. Mongoloid, if you want to go scientific and all. They all tend to have very strange viewpoints. However, most Native American tribes can probably be traced back to Mongolia, because the last thing I seen on Mongolians, they seem to have the same Native American traditions, only not with the totem poles. Okay, and again, totem poles is also, it's different tribally. It's totally different tribally. I believe it's more of a West Coast thing than an East Coast thing, because I don't recall Cherokees having totem poles, and my great grandmother never spoke to me about totem poles. So, depending on your tribe and how you're explaining it to people, I guess. And like I said, I say this in every video. Everything that is either Native American or Asian culture changes by nation and by tribe. Wow, where the hell did that come from? Some strange debris just blew in my yard in the back. I don't know where it came from, but it's orange. Anyway, so that being said, I'm going to end this video with this. If every myth and legend has some truth to it, how do we know that time traveling doesn't exist? I do not want a job as a time traveler. I just want to make it in the movies and call it a day. But if that would be my destiny, that would be great. But if I'm not allowed to change time or fix history or whatever, then I really don't want the job. Because if I had it my way, then there would be peace amongst all people of every ethnic color and background, and there wouldn't be any strife. And interracial dating and interracial children wouldn't be some big clusterfuck that nobody gives a shit about. I'm James Green Machine. Just come having number 2. Be seeing you. Or maybe.